In today's video, I will be teaching percent change using SQL, so let's get started. So here's the formula for percent change. The formula is the amount of change and divided by the original amount, since you want to see the change and compare to what it was before. I will be utilizing a window function called roll number to show percent change. In case you don't know, roll number assigns a sequential integer to each row without skipping any numbers, so it's always going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. I will be using self-join since we are referencing data in itself. So in the example, you can use a self-join to get the employee name and their respective manager name from the same table. So on the left side, we have employee table. And if I run this query right here, which utilizes a self-join, then you can see that the output, I would have the employee name and their respective manager name. So you might have heard of a subquery before. A subquery is a query nested inside another statement. I will be using a common table expression. You can use a subquery if you like, but I like using common table expression because it's easier to read. All right, so let's first try percent change on a spreadsheet before moving over to SQL. So here we have cell 2019 with 3 columns. We have the date, sales, and we have monthly percent change. Because the first month, which is January, did not change, I'm going to move over to the next row. So this would be equal this month's sales minus last month's sales, close parentheses, divided by last month's sales, and press enter. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and double click here to autofill. There you have it. We have the monthly percent change for sales 2019. Moving over to doing percent change on SQL. So we have 3 columns. We have dates, continent, and sales. For now, let's ignore continent and let's just focus on date and sales. We're going to go ahead and work on our percent change for sales 2019. So let's get started. So with common table expression as, and in our common table, we want to select the dates, and we want to select sales, and we're going to go ahead and use the roll number window function. So roll number over, and we're going to order it by date, and we're going to give it an alias, so as row number 1. You do not need the as part. You can delete it if you like, or you can leave it up to you. And this is from sales 2019. All right, now in our outer query, let's go ahead and select everything for now. Select all from common table expression. So what we want to do is we want to do a left self join. And the reason why we're doing a left join is because we want all records from the left table and only the matched records from the right table. So let's give this an alias as T1. And we're going to do a left join. So left join common table expression as T2 on T1.row number 1 is equal to T2.row number 1 plus 1. And the reason why we add plus 1 is to offset the rows so that they can join correctly. All right, now let me go ahead and replace this, the star with what we need. So we want T1.date, we want T1.sales. Now we want our percent change formula. So we're going to do T1.sales minus T2.sales multiplied by 1.0. And the reason why we multiply by 1.0 is to avoid integer division, divided by T2.sales times 100. If I run the query, and there we have it. We have percent change formula for sales 2019. Now, the issue is that we want our values to say 0 instead of no. We see, notice right here, it says no, we want it to say 0. So in order to do that, we need to use a coalesce function. So the definition of coalesce, it returns the first none-null value in a list. So for example, this statement right here, the first none-null value is going to be pizza. Therefore, the statement, if you were to run it, would return pizza. So let's go ahead and implement coalesce function here. Sorry, my computer's a little bit whacked. So I added coalesce, and I'm going to go ahead and add an open parenthesis, and I'm going to add comma 0, close parentheses. All right, if I were to run it, there you go. Now let's go ahead and round our results to 2 decimal places. So we need to use a round function. So I'm going to go ahead and add round here, round, open parentheses, and I'm going to add comma 2, close parentheses. If I were to run it, there you go, much neater. Now wait, we have one more issue. The issue is that let's assume we have a 0 value in our data set. We will get an error because we cannot divide by 0. So for example, let's assume we have a table called select, select everything, select all from cell 2018. If I run this query, notice how there's a 0 value in our data set. If we were going to do a percent change with this data set right here, this would not work because you cannot divide by 0. Here, I'll show you what I mean. So if I'm going to copy the cell 2018 and replace it here, I'm going to delete this. And if I run the query, look at that. Error, division by 0. So the solution to divide by 0 is to use a null if function. So null if returns no if 2 arguments are equal. Otherwise, it returns the first expression, right? So let's go ahead and implement null if here. So null if, open parentheses. Sorry, once again, my computer's whack. And I'm going to go ahead and add comma 0, close parentheses. And let me zoom out so you guys can see. All right. So what I did was I did null if here, open parenthesis, and I added a comma 0, close parentheses. So what happens is that my computer once again is a little bit whack. Okay, there we go. So basically, if this was 0, let's assume if t2.sales right here, if this was 0, null if would say, oh, since the 2 arguments are equal, since t2.sales is 0 and this second argument right here is 0, it would return no, and therefore divide by 0 would not occur. So if I was to run this query, there you have it. Awesome. So now what if you want to partition your query? If you recall earlier, cell 2019 has a different column called continent. So if I can show you here, select all from cell 2019. So notice how there's a column called continent, and let's assume we want to do percent change for Europe, and then we want to do a percent change just for North America. In order to do that, we need to use a partition clause, and here's the syntax for a partition. So let's give it a shot. Let's give it a try. So I'm going to replace cell 2018 here with cell 2019. I'm going to go ahead and add continent here, comma, and we're going to partition by continent. All right, and we're going to do t1.continent, comma, and lastly, we want to join, so and t1.continent. Oops, I forgot to spell the partition wrong here. There we go. So lastly, we want to do a left join, so we want to add and t1.continent is equal to t2.continent. And if I run the query, let's see, t2.continent. Oops, spelled it wrong. Okay. Notice how there's something that looks not correct. It's probably because I did not order it correctly. So I have to, let me copy this and paste it right here. And right, and okay, now if I was to run the query, there it is. It looks like the result that we wanted. So notice how we have percent change for Europe, and now we have the percent change for North America. Lastly, do not forget you can rename your column. So over here you see it says round. We could change it so it will say percent change. So over here, I'm going to give it an alias as percent change. If I was to run this, there you go. Thank you so much.